everyone, this is one of our first class addresses. There will be many more to follow throughout the semester. Basically, it's kind of a way for me to check in with you all to talk about where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. I also use this space sometimes to elaborate on assignments, to point out elements from the book, model certain things. So it's always important that you check out the class addresses. I try to keep them all under 10 minutes so they're pretty digestible. Feel free to listen and watch along while you're doing the dishes or folding laundry, but it's definitely important to pay attention. So if you find yourself trailing off, you'll always want to kind of rewind and come back. So we're in the third week of the semester so far, and this is our final week of the unit. We're going to be starting Unit 2 next week. So to recap, Unit 1 I know was pretty tedious for most of you. There was something due every week. Those questions that were due on Thursday were not fun, but it's all coming together because this first unit really lays the foundation for everything we do this semester. So it starts to build what is technical writing, professional writing, talks about concision, passive versus active, formatting with memos and emails, tone, audience, you name it, we've covered it. And as well as building on things like collaborative experience with this week's assignment. We'll be doing quite a few collaborative projects. So we're kind of starting to build this collective knowledge of things that have worked well for us, things that have not worked well for us, and allows us to start thinking about what we might want as a group and elements of a positive group and things along those lines. So all of that said and done, at this point, everyone should be on week 3 for the first unit. I am going through the week 2 questions, and as much as they were not fun for you to I should not say that. I'll start over. Hi everyone, this is the first of several class addresses that I will post throughout the semester. I use these videos as a way to talk about where we've been, where we are, where we're going. I also use them oftentimes to illustrate certain things from the book, elaborate on an assignment, answer pertinent questions, and a myriad of other things. So it's important that you pay attention to these videos and watch them when I post them. Now feel free to do your laundry or, wash your dishes while you're watching. But if you find yourself kind of tuning out or your mind trailing, make sure that you hop back in, rewind, and watch it again. So Unit 1 is actually getting ready to come to a close. This is our third and final week in this unit. It moved pretty fast. We definitely covered a lot of information, and not all of it was fun or interesting. However, Unit 1 really is foundational for everything we do in this semester. So it's important to make sure that you've gained the lessons. So we start off with things like formatting and tone, audience, writing with an appropriate tone and formatting for that audience. We move into things like sentence construction, active versus passive, and concision. These are all key elements in technical and professional writing. And from there, now we're moving into collaborative writing. What does that mean? What does that look like? So this week I've asked you to talk about some of your experiences. We all have had them. Some have been better than others. And I want you to start thinking about what makes for a good group and a good collaborative project. What are the elements that are needed for things to go smoothly? And how do you handle things when they don't go well? Because just as in academia, that also happens in the workforce. So having kind of a plan of attack really helps. We'll talk more about this in the upcoming units, but again, this is kind of this basic laying the foundation unit So all of these things are really going to start coming together. As much as you might think, we're done with this one topic, you'll see it come up again. So far this week, I have asked you, let's hop over into learning units. I have asked you to work within a Google Doc. Now, everyone here has a Gmail account through your UAA email address. So it's no problem for you logging in and accessing this document. Oops. The link is right here, and depending on the browser you're in or the computer you're using, it could take you to a screen with a URL like this where you have to click it again to get to access the actual Google Doc, or it might just open up for you in that window. You'll notice that the prompt is right here for you. In order to get full credit for this, you have to answer the prompt completely as well as follow the instructions. If you don't have a name, well then I can't grade it and I won't know who did it, so please make sure you include your name on that. What I want to do though is I want to go ahead and project and look at the next step in the unit. So the next step in the unit is due on Monday, and it's your final project for this unit. And I'm asking you to complete the case study at the end of chapter 14, which starts on page 396. If you look at the case study at the end of chapter 14, you'll notice that the first part sets up the context for you. It's really important that you understand the context in and of itself before moving on. So make sure that you read that and understand that. Now, your assignment is to actually do both of these questions, question 1 and question 2. So the first one is that you're going to prepare a memo. So you're following that strict memo format as we discussed in the first weeks of class. And it's going to present a response to his request, that you present your thoughts. So basically you're doing a critique of that initial letter that he is going to send out to the affected students. So remember that you are creating a memo that's a critique of his original letter, okay? In doing so, you need to make sure that this critique is coming from the you attitude. So the letter does not project that now. So how does it need to be changed? What suggestions do you have for that? And that you also need to be employing that you attitude in your own memo. So it's really kind of coming through with that you attitude. If you're unfamiliar with that, it is in chapter 14, so you're going to want to talk about that a little bit more. But it's really talking about coming from the perspective of that receiver. What do they need to know, right? And how do you kind of soften the blow of bad news to them without leaving anything out or promising things that cannot be taken care of? You know, if you wait tables and someone doesn't like the tater tots, well, you're not going to give them their entire meal for free and a free dessert, you know. So what can you offer them that's legitimate? So that's kind of that you attitude, right? Kind of keeping it realistic, but thinking about what the receiver wants. The second part of this assignment is actually revising that letter that Dr. Friedman had drafted and employing the suggestions that you put forth in the memo to Dr. Friedman. So that should follow all the conventions of a letter as well. So we're really working with formatting here, the you attitude, tone and audience, because there's going to be a really different tone depending on if you're writing to Dr. Friedman versus you're writing to the students, right? So we're kind of putting all of these pieces and parts together that we've been working on, taking into consideration concision, active versus passive, looking at are there subjects in sentences, the whole 9 yards, the whole kit and caboodle. So make sure that you're looking at each of these elements in your revision process, and all the documents are there for you. Now, when you're done with this, you will go into Turn In Papers and submit your work there. There will be another link. Make sure that your documents are PDF files. You can do it all as one PDF file, or you can submit a PDF file for each question. One for the memo, one for the letter. I leave that up to you. Make sure that your names are on those. In the memo, your name obviously is going to be in the From section. If you're creating the letter, you could also sign it, right? Maybe as the student chair, be creative with that. I leave it up to you. Now, the final thing that I'd like to say is I do not offer extra credit. It is very rare that I offer extra credit. And I know at the end of the semester people will ask, do you offer any extra credit? Because I'm right on the cusp, because I don't round up grades. So in the first unit, I do offer extra credit. This is the only time that I will offer it throughout the semester. So word of advice, if you think you might need it, take advantage of that now. That's also due Monday when your unit project is due. Similar to the to the week 2 project of questions, it is not the most exciting assignment, which is why it's extra credit. The lesson, however, is very important. So you are still responsible for the lesson, even if you don't submit the work for the extra credit. And it's on active versus passive. When you go into turn in papers, there will also be a link there for that extra credit assignment. Again, I don't offer it at any other point in the semester, so if you want extra credit and you think you might want it at the end, now is the time to take advantage of this opportunity. Alright, Unit 2 will open up this weekend, so you'll kind of get a view of what's coming up in Unit 2. There'll be another class address to talk about Unit 2, because while it looks the same on Blackboard, it's going to be a little different in how things are submitted. So I will talk about that as we get closer to Unit 2. In the meantime, I look forward to seeing your final projects, and I will have your Week 2 work back to you, hopefully by the end of Wednesday. Alright, I will see you all soon.